So these updates are hot off the press and have come into effect in the last couple of days. Hi, this is Nick from Pathway to Oz. And today I'm going to discuss the October updates with immigration. So firstly, the big update is that Victoria Migration has opened. So they have said, look, we're not going to wait for immigration to give us the rest of the quota. We're going to open, say these are our requirements, and we'll see what we're going to get with our limited quota. Federal immigration is still to provide the different states and territories their exact numbers, which is crazy because how late it is. But the states are just going, look, we can't wait any longer, we're going to open. So basically they've said, look, these are our requirements, Victoria Migration, we're going to open. We might change these in the future depending on the quota, but let's go ahead and get your expression of interest in. Essentially, you need to follow the steps to basically check your eligibility, submit an expression of interest. Once you've submitted an expression of interest, you then look to lodge a registration of interest with specifically Victoria Migration. If you are invited, you'll then submit the different documentation to Victoria Migration. They can then give you the invitation and you can apply for the visa. So you do need to do that extra step after you've lodged that expression of interest. Basically, the requirements, if you're living in Victoria, are pretty open to everyone, which is good in the sense that a lot of people can submit their expression of interest, but it's also bad because they don't specifically articulate who they want, which means a lot of people will be submitting their expression of interest with really no chance of being invited. So if you look at their website and you look at the further requirements, basically they've said you can submit a registration of interest even if you're not working in your occupation, be considered. But look, in reality, I think that's a bit far-fetched. If you're not working in your occupation, I think it gives you an incredibly low chance of being invited. So the most important thing you can do is get in your occupation. For the 190, they've basically said, look, as long as you're living in Victoria, working, then you potentially can be invited, even if it's not in your field. I don't know how much I believe that. For the 491, they've opened as well. They've said, look, if you're living and working in a regional Victorian area, you can be eligible. Once again, I think you're going to want to be realistically working in your occupation to give yourself the best chance. Moving forward from this, Tasmania Migration followed Victoria's footsteps, and they basically said, hey, we're going to open as well. We don't even have a big quota, but we're going to do it and we'll see what the government gives us. Now, their requirements are actually a lot more restrictive. So if you look at their website, they'll show that basically, what the requirements are for each particular pathway. Now, they do have a fair few different pathways which you can go through. So the skilled employment pathway, graduate pathway, established resident pathway, or business operator pathway. Probably the most common is going to be the skilled employment pathway, I would think. Specifically, they need you or they want you to be working there for at least 9 months if you're in a priority occupation, or even longer if you're not. Okay, so that's one of the big changes with Tasmania. It looks like they're trying to invite people who are living and working there for a long period of time. I think that's probably because a lot of people went to Tasmania, usually from Victoria, because Tasmania was probably a little bit easier, got the invite, applied for the visa, got it approved, and then bounced straight away. So they're trying to get you to be there, live, work, establish your roots, so you've got a better chance of actually sticking around in Tasmania. The next big thing which changed, or the next big update, was the student visa assessment levels. Every quarter or so, basically immigration will change the levels for the countries and the education providers. And what this means is that it affects if you need to provide evidence of English or financials with your documentation. So a lot of countries, for example, might have gone to level 1. And so a lot of applicants who might not have had to provide English and financials before need to. And a lot of applicants who didn't need to before now can lodge the application without providing these documents. Please note, immigration can still request these. So if you're from a traditionally high-risk country, it's probably recommended you still do, or at least prepare to have these. But yeah, definitely check out the assessment tool. We'll put the link below. So those are the big immigration updates. We can expect the rest of the states to open up shortly. I think they're just waiting on the federal government to give them this quota, but that should come through soon. And obviously, if you do have any questions about migration, feel free to contact Pathway to Oz.